Hello and welcome to our very quick tutorial. So we're just going to have a look at a couple of things that we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks. So here's my game here. So I'm going to press play and my character is on the ground. I'm going to press jump and I'm going to try and press jump a second time, and I can't jump more than once. And if you look over here, I've got a grounded boolean, and when I jump off the ground it turns off, and that prevents me from jumping a second time. I've also got this little white structure here, which is meant to be, if you use your imagination, a ladder. So I'm going to walk here. I'm actually going behind the ladder, and you can see here climbing is turned on. Excuse me. Now I can still jump, but when I press up, you can see I'm trying to move upwards now. I need to add more force, or do this slightly different way, but you can see that I'm let's start that again, because I need to add in another line of code there. But when we started, climbing was false, and now climbing is true. So let's have a look at what we've done here. So we've added this climb sprite, and we've just given it a tag ladder. It's got a box collider and it's a trigger. So this is going to work off triggers, and then on this background image here with the green collider on it, it's got an edge collider, we've added the tag ground. So let's just have a quick look at the script on the player and have a very quick look at how all this is working. So we could use ray casting or line casting to do as grounded, but we'll just try and see if we can keep it a bit simpler than that for now, and we'll look at them another day. So I've got a public boolean, so true or false, called grounded, and I've got another one called climbing. Now what I've done here is I've said on collision enter 2D. So when I collide with something, set grounded to be true. So I land on the ground, so if I'm hovering over the ground here, when I press play, the character will land onto the ground and be touching the ground. So this will be true. And then on collision exit, grounded is false. So when I jump off the ground, I'm no longer touching the ground, so I've exited that collision, and grounded becomes false. Now further down here, when we look at our jump command, we've added in an extra input sort of permutation here. What we've said is if I press the spacebar and grounded is true. So if I've jumped off the ground here and grounded is false, it doesn't matter how many times I press the spacebar, this is false, so it won't do what's underneath. So that's the simplest way to do is grounded. And then if you have, as you often will have in a platform game, you want a character to climb up a ladder, we could use collision, we could use on collision stay, but just to show you in this instance here, so we've got void on trigger. So I'm actually going to duplicate this here and put it here, and this is going to be on trigger exit, and climbing is going to be false. So we'll look at that in a second. So basically what I'm saying here is, instead of saying on trigger enter, I could use enter, but basically on trigger stay is while I'm in contact. So while the sprite is in contact with this collider here, if that collider has the tag ladder, then climbing is true. And then when I exit, I just added this extra bit in, so when I exit this box collider here, then climbing is false. And then if we look down here at our input, we can see this here. So if input.getKey code up arrow, so if I press the up arrow to climb or to move up my sprite up, and climbing is true, then do this. So climbing will be false once I have exited that collider. And again, this is based on two different sort of systems here. One is on collision and one is on trigger. So let's just save that. So it's saved, and let's go back here and see if we get any compile errors. First of all, we'll just see if things, the booleans are working. So grounding is true because I'm in collision with the ground and it has the tag ground, and when I jump, the grounded boolean is turning off. So that's perfect. So that means if I try a double jump, it won't work. Now let's see if climbing is now true, climbing is now false. True, false. And now I can press up, and you can see now I need to give it a better, I need to fix the movement of it, but you can see in theory it moving. And as I move up, you can see grounded equals true. So I can actually jump from the base of the ladder, but if I were to move up that ladder, I wouldn't be able to jump while I was on it because I would no longer be grounded. And you could decide whether you wanted the player to be able to jump off the ladder or not. That would be up to you. So there's just two very simple sort of techniques to help sort of the gameplay and the input, control the input from your player to your sprite, to stop the character flying around the world by just continuously jumping, and also by allowing the sprite movement, like vertical, for example, movement on a ladder, based on continuous collision with a sprite. Okay, so that's it for now.